My name is Sophia. I'm 28, and the night before my sister's wedding, she kicked me out. Little did Melissa know, I owned the venue and I was moments away from canceling the whole thing. But before I explain how I exposed a lifetime of lies with one simple conference call, drop a comment below and tell me where you're watching from. It began with a text, the kind that makes your stomach drop straight through the floor. Jam 11:47 PM. The night before Melissa's dream wedding, my phone buzzed, lighting up the dark room with a message that felt like a slap. Don't bother showing up tomorrow. Sophia, you're no longer welcome at my wedding. I read it twice. No explanation. No, I'm sorry. Just a cold, hard dismissal. For a long moment, I sat there, the glow of my phone reflected in my eyes. Shock? Not really. Disappointment? Always? But shock? No. This was just the final act in a lifetime of being the family disappointment. I set the phone down next to a set of keys engraved with the discreet logo of Grandview Hospitality, a company my family had never asked about. Never cared to know. I stared at the keys, then back at the darkscreen.com washed over me. Melissa had just handed me the matches and pointed to the perfectly manicured garden she'd spent years obsessing over. She had no idea who was about to get burned. To understand why a sister would do this, you need to understand my family's two realities. In their world, I was Sophia Hartwell, 28, underachiever, working a little job at a no-name event company, driving a beat-up Honda, living in a cramped apartment. Pity, whispered and stifled, followed me everywhere. In my reality, I got up at 5 a.m., not from desperation, but drive. That little job was a position I created, founder and CEO of a multi-million-dollar hospitality empire. My cramped apartment was actually a sleek, minimalist service flat for late nights a stone's throw from my penthouse. The Honda, it kept me grounded. I remembered my college graduation like it was yesterday. Top honors, my name called with distinction. I scanned the crowd for my parents, Richard and Carol. They arrived 20 minutes late, a gas station bouquet in hand. Sorry we're late, honey, Dad said, clapping me on the shoulder. Melissa had a recital. She won first place in regional qualifiers. Can you believe it? My summa cum laude plaque felt like cardboard in my hands. My successes were Melissa's were headlines. Hours before her text, I was in that service flat, staring at an award tucked behind books, 3-state area entrepreneur of the year, solid glass. Heavy. I never took it home. My phone rang. Anakin, my coup, and my rock. Are you sure you want to go to the rehearsal dinner? Her voice carried the weight of someone who had heard it all before. I sighed at my reflection in the dark window. I have to try, Anna. One last time. You don't owe them anything, Soph. Remember who you are. I went. Big mistake. The dinner was at a ridiculously expensive restaurant, the air thick with money and judgment. Eleanor Keller, Brandon's mother, fixed me with a slow, appraising gaze. Sophia, dear, she said, honeyed venom in her voice. Brandon says you work in events. How? Interesting. I tightened my jaw and nodded. Conversation after conversation, Eleanor compared my modest career to her son's roaring success. My parents shifted uncomfortably, not for me, but for themselves. Melissa's eyes were storm clouds, ready to break under the squeeze of social pressure. Finally, Melissa tapped her glass. Trembling, she announced, after a lot of thought, and in consideration of our families, we've decided it's best if Sophia doesn't attend the wedding tomorrow. The silence that followed was deafening. Melissa stumbled over her words, the excuse as flimsy as it was cruel. It's just, you don't really fit the aesthetic, Sophia, and we don't want Brandon's family to feel uncomfortable. A punch to the gut. That's what it felt like. I glanced at my parents. My mother stared at her plate. My father cleared his throat and sipped his water. Silence. They were letting this happen. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I stood, my composure sharp, a weapon in itself. I understand, I said evenly. Then I walked out. The second I slid into my car, the mask shattered, knuckles white on the steering wheel. I let the wave of humiliation crash over me. One hot tear rolled down my cheek for the little girl who just wanted her parents to notice her. But it lasted only a moment. I wiped it away. Sadness hardened into steel. I breathed in deeply. Hurt gave way to resolve. I picked up my phone and dialed Anna. Anna, it's me, I said, my voice all business. Activate Clause 7B in the Hartwell Killer event contract. Reason: breach of client code of conduct, cause in brand damage. Send official notification to their wedding planner within 10 minutes. No direct contact. By 7 a.m. the next morning, my phone was blowing up first. Melissa, then my mom, then my dad. I ignored them, sipping coffee while watching the stock ticker on the news. Chaos! Right on schedule. Then came a call from a number I actually had saved. David, head of security at Willowbrook Gardens. The venue Melissa had gushed about 4 months. Miss Hartwell, he said, urgency in his voice. Apologies for the early call, but we have a situation at the front gate. Mrs. Carol Hartwell and Miss Melissa Hartwell are here causing a disturbance. They're demanding entry. They are not on the access list. David, I said calmly, follow standard procedure. Understood, ma'am. Minutes later, Dad called. This time, I answered. Panic dripped from his voice, a sound I'd never heard before. Sophia, what in God's name is going on? They won't let Melissa into her own wedding. Her planner just got some crazy legal email. You have to do something. Why do I have to do something, Dad? I asked, dangerously quiet. Because this is a disaster. We need to talk, all of us. No. Fine, I said. Video call at 10 a.m. Everyone must be there. At exactly 10 a.m., their faces appeared on my screen. Dad's red-faced, mom, tear-streaked. Melissa hair disheveled, makeup smudged. She looked broken. A small, petty part of me savored it. Sophia, thank God. Dad started, reaching for control. You need to call Willowbrook Gardens. Tell them there's been a misunderstanding. I don't think I can do that, Dad, I said smoothly. This is now a legal matter. I'm a bit out of my depth. What are you talking about? Melissa sobbed. Well, I said, since it's a legal issue, I thought professional guidance was best. With a click, a new window opened on the call. A man in a sharp suit appeared. Everyone, this is Mark Feynman, our corporate counsel. Mark nodded once. Expression cold. Mr. and Mrs. Hartwell. Miss Hartwell, he began. Voice precise, emotionless. Per the event contract, any client action deemed detrimental to the brand image of Grandview Hospitality grants the company the right to terminate the contract immediately. The public dismissal of a guest at a pre-event function, especially a family member, falls squarely into that category. Grandview Hospitality, my dad stammered, confusion plain in his voice. Who is that? We signed with Willowbrook Gardens. Melissa finally spoke. Her voice a raw, broken whisper. How are we supposed to know about some stupid rule? That was my cue. I leaned forward, eyes locked on the camera. You should have known, Melissa, I said, calm and unwavering, because the contract with all its stupid rules was signed off by the owner of Willowbrook Gardens. I paused, letting the weight of my words sink in. And that owner, I said, voice steady, is me. I shared my screen. There it was, the official state registration for Grandview Hospitality LLC. Black and white. Plain as day. Founder and CEO, Sophia Hartwell. Silence. Utter, crushing, world-shattering silence. I watched them in real time, the confusion, the disbelief, the dawning horror. My mother's hand flew to her mouth. My father went pale. Melissa looked like she'd seen a ghost. Finally, Dad whispered, choked, You can fix this. Right, Sophia, please. I let the question hang, then delivered my final, devastating truth. There's nothing to fix, I said. A business decision has been made, but as a gesture, there is a solution. I clicked again. A new image appeared: rosewood, estate stone, and ivy, sprawling lawns, breathtaking, and a flicker of hope crossed their faces. The standard commercial rate is $50,000, I continued. Payable up front? Consider it a lesson in how the real world works. A lesson? Dad, you never taught me. I looked at Mom. And the profits from this event, I'll donate them in your name to that women's education fund you once dismissed, so you can see the value a vision can create. I won't be attending, of course. 8 months of strained silence followed. Then a letter arrived. Handwritten, simple stationery. From Melissa. She didn't just apologize. She told me she'd thought about the wedding, about my company, about the Women's Education Fund. She had seen what I was doing with her own eyes. She admitted she was ashamed not because I was successful, but because she had never bothered to see me. She asked if we could get coffee. We did. Awkward, quiet, long pauses, but a start. It's going to take time, Melissa, I said. She nodded. She understood. A year later, I was at our cousin's wedding at Rosewood, watching my family different. The old dynamics gone, replaced with a quiet, uncertain respect. During the reception, my phone buzzed. Dad, I braced myself. Hey, he said, hesitant. Quick question. I'm thinking of moving some retirement funds, looking at a tech portfolio. Thoughts? I smiled. Surrounded by music, laughter, and sunlight spilling over the gardens, I gave him financial advice. He wasn't asking for pity. He wasn't asking for a handout. He was asking for my expertise. After the call, I raised my glass, not to Anjan, just to myself. Peace wasn't about them seeing my success. It was about them finally seeing my worth. And more importantly, about me knowing I never needed their permission to have it in the first place. Thank you for listening to my story. It's been a long journey, and I'm still navigating it. I'd love to know, have you ever had to reset boundaries with someone in your life? Share your story in the comments. And if this resonated with you, I'd be so grateful if you liked and subscribed for more stories.